I'm LaDonna Greiner with the Project Gratitude and 21 Reasons to Say Thank You. I'm here with Patrick Carpenter, Vice President of the Great Game of Business, and we're going to talk about the importance and benefits of employee recognition. So, Patrick, would you give us just a brief overview of your background and your experience?
Sure. So I'm Vice President with the Great Game of Business, and we practice open book management, which was actually invented here in Springfield, Missouri, many years ago. And that includes rewards and recognitions, and those general best practices that help employees engage with their employers.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the importance of appreciating employees, acknowledging the value that they bring to the business, and expressing gratitude for their efforts.
Right. Well, people make up businesses, and we're always focused on the financial numbers, which is very important, we found. But numbers are nothing more than stories about people. And so people and their effects on companies are often, it's the overused cliche that people are first and people are the most important. But we really don't have processes in many cases or rhythms to address exactly how are we rewarding and appreciating our employees. And that's what we found to be so successful.
So would you agree that companies who do not recognize the need to express appreciation to their employees and make them feel valued, that they will struggle to retain their employees and improve productivity and actually succeed?
Well, LaDonna, I think you're seeing that as evidenced all over the globe. And we see that so often where companies are struggling and finding out and asking the questions after the fact, well, why do we have this high turnover? Or why are my employees jumping for $1 an hour over to another company? Yeah. And they're dealing with the issue after the fact. And largely they end up coming back to some of these tried and true engagement principles that we have found to be so successful, over our 34-year existence.
So I've found studies that show that people who are grateful are healthier, they reach more of their goals, they're more collaborative, they're happier, they earn more income than those who are ungrateful, complain, or negative. Would you agree with these results? And if so, how do you think they impact business?
Well, I mean, we have tremendous evidence for that. At Springfield Remanufacturing, which is the holdings company for a number of our companies, including the Great Game of Business, we have about 1,400 employees, and we're self-insured. So a typical company our size, in our industry, their health care costs would be about $12 million, okay? And our healthcare costs run about $6 million. So we're running roughly half of the healthcare costs. And we attribute that to not only good wellness programs, but the fact that when people come to work here, they're happier and therefore healthier. And we're just better all around, well-rounded human beings when we go to work and we're not stressed. It sounds commonsensical, but at the end of the day, you need to also back it up with some kind of rhythm and practice.
So I imagine it improves your retention too. What's the average number of years an employee's been with your business?
Absolutely. Well, we have, different industries have different statistics that they follow and benchmarks in the marketplace relative to their turnover. And in some cases, the more blue collar you go, the higher the turnover is going to be, because it's more difficult to educate those employees about the differences in your business relative to 50 cents or $1 an hour. And so we have marginally better turnover rates than the general population out there. But some of our Great Game companies that practice what we do throughout the world see dramatically different turnover rates, down into the 2, 3, 4% range, when their industries typically are at 6, 7, 8, 9% or higher.
And that's probably because they're just now implementing these practices and hadn't been in the past, whereas your companies have been doing them all along.
Yeah, so we're excited about the results that we're seeing. We have a lot of case studies to this effect. Relative to people that have been practicing a long time. And you can go to our website at www.greatgame.com and see all those studies listed there as well.
So, customer service. I think that how employees feel internally and how they treat each other internally is reflected in the way they treat their customers.
You know, it's one of the great icons of American business would certainly be considered Southwest Airlines, and Herb Keller, who just really led first with this idea that if we treat our employees well, they're in turn going to treat the marketplace well and our customers well and so forth. And we were lucky enough to have worked with them really early on and learn how vitally important it is that if we take good care of our employees, they will take good care of the marketplace. And so we're all in on that one, and we see tremendous benefits. As I mentioned to you before the interview, you know, we get about 3 times the national average, 3 times better the national average on employee engagement. And by doing that, then we also get 2 times the national average in terms of revenue growth for a company like us, and we see 5 times as much profit with companies that practice rewards and recognition, and that increase their engagement as a result of that.
So employee recognition, valuing your employees, results in a stronger company and a stronger bottom line.
Absolutely.
So as you know, the emphasis of my employee recognition program is writing handwritten thank you notes.
Right.
Kind of
right.
a lost art.
It
And
is.
I'm hoping to revive it because I think it's important. And I know that you are a big thank you note writer, and I'm sure you've received some in your career. Can you talk about your thoughts on, I think there is a place for emails, there is a place for text, there's a place for public recognition at meetings and before the board of directors and things like that. But I think writing a thank you note to someone in your own handwriting with just a brief thank you note is a great way to express your heartfelt gratitude to someone that will stay with them for years.
Right, right. Well, it is a lost art, and even before, when it wasn't a lost art, the marketplace I came from was the medical market, medical product sales, and pharmaceuticals and so forth. And we found there that after an exhaustive study of some of the things that really connected us to our clients and customers, and everything from buying them lunch to lunch and learns to, you know, acknowledging them at a trade show with samples and that sort of thing. The number one thing that we found that doctors and nurses and purchasing agents responded to was a thank you note. And in fact, that was the one critical element of a company that ended up gobbling up a bunch of market share on exam tables. The company's called Midmark, and it didn't have quite as much as maybe 15 or 20% of the market when they started, and then they learned quickly how important it was to say thank you, how important it was to make that personal connection to the marketplace, and that, along with some other strategies that they implemented, allowed them to get close to 95% of the entire exam table market among physicians. It's a wonderful example of how just saying thank you and that simple connection with another human being and sets you apart from the typical transactions of electronic connections.
It makes you stand out. So if you have a good product, one way to get ahead of the game is to write thank you notes, as you told us with your example. So, in your opinion, what can companies do to realize the results like you've talked about?
Yes. Well, I think the first thing is to assess what your baseline is today. What's your engagement level today? Where do you sit relative to the rest of the world, the industry that you're in, and then your own expectations. There's a lot of assessment tools out there that help you judge how you are and how your future business may look as well. One of them is called Net Promoter Score, NPS, and the NPS is widely and commonly used, and it's out there on the web. You can search it, and we use that, and that lets us know, you know, how we're going to look in the future relative to, do our clients, think enough of us and the way that we treat them that they'll go tell another client. So that's the outcome. So the assessment and the outcomes tools is probably where I would say start. And then the next thing I would do is really ask your employees, are we appreciating you enough? right? And then are we appreciating our clients enough? And get a baseline there about what do we think. I think then from there, there's lots and lots of strategies, Great Game of Business being one of them, that allows us to really put a pattern. And that's really what we need to be up to, is putting a pattern of appreciation, both internal and external, together.
Right, right. Well, 21 Reasons to Say Thank You is a toolkit that can help you with that. But in order for it to really be effective, you have to sincerely buy in and believe in a culture that values its employees.
Right.
And so a lot of the things that the Great Game of Business endorses and teaches will help a company get to that point, so that this toolkit will be meaningful. Writing notes to your coworkers, writing notes to your employees,
Right.
will have some value, but it has to be backed up by actions.
Right.
Not just writing a thank you note. That's not going to turn your company around. It has to be a whole internal culture
Right.
that really believes in,
Right.
appreciation and recognition. Well, Patrick, thanks so much for sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us today. I really appreciate your time, and best of luck to you and Great Game of Business.
Thank you very much.